Hey, great seeing everybody again today. We want to thank you for joining us on the Just Angling podcast. This is our first video podcast, and we think it's going to be a whole lot better than just the audio version. And we're so pleased today to not only have Chip Berry, my sidekick with Maps Unique, but also we have John Cruz, who just got finished winning the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament. Way to go, John. Good job.
Thank you.
Hey, such a story in that. I mean, there, as there usually is, that we'll get into a little bit later on. But welcome to the show. We appreciate you joining us today in your busy schedule.
All right. Thank you, sir.
So I'm going to kick off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chip, because Chip's the offshore guy, a lot more than I am. You know, where I was so mystified by this whole thing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you were the first outboard center console boat to win Big Rock. Is that correct?
Well, the information I have, in 1962, there was a gentleman, a legend, who landed a Blue Marlin on an outboard boat, but it was like a cuddy cabin style. And I believe there was an outboard who brought a Marlin in a couple years ago on a custom cuddy style. We're the first center console to ever win it.
Cool. Chip, you had some questions. You and I talked before the show started about your thoughts during the week and what was going on. Get with John. Talk to John a little bit about what that experience was like for you just listening.
Well, first of all, I'll back up and before we start, I was just telling John and Tim, I caught my very first Blue Marlin today in 1978. That was a long time ago. 40 years. So John will remember this past week the rest of his life like it was yesterday. And I listened to Big Rock all week, and that was the most exciting tournament I've ever been involved in or listened to. I didn't fish it, but I had the VHF on all day. I remember when Pelagic hooked up, and I remember when they released. I mean, brought their fishing board. I had kind of three questions. If it's okay, maybe I'll go ahead and ask those, and maybe that'll stimulate some discussion. But I've been studying the ROFFS reports all week long, and there was some incredible water up that way, hence the number of billfish, I guess. But the day you were out there was two back loop eddies out there, and I was just kind of wondering if you fished those or what kind of water you were in. Because there was some spectacular looking boundaries and all. Secondly, if it's not a secret, I kind of like to know what kind of spread y'all were running. And, plastics, did you have dredges, whatever. Did y'all change out that kind of thing? Thirdly, and most importantly, did you know you had a leaderboard fish before you got him to the wire? Or is it one of them last minute decisions, man? I want to know what that last minute was like when you brought that monster to the boat, to the wire. Because you were eye level with that sucker in the center console. I tell you what, I can just only imagine, So anyway, that's all I got to say. Captain Chip's just going to stand by and hear the story right now.
All right. Well, the first question, you had mentioned ROFFS charts, and we use ROFFS, and man, they're great people up there. We called them early in the week. After Tuesday was our first day. I had a client that I could not move. By the way, this was a last-minute decision we made to join the Big Rock. So we decided, hey, we were supposed to be in the ladies tournament. The weather blew us out. We made an adjustment. So let's do the Big Rock. And I shifted some clients around. Ran the boat up to Morehead City, but I couldn't move my daytime sword fishing trip guy for Monday. My clients come first, so I made sure I was going to take care of him. He had one day he really had a target, So we were actually broadbill sword fishing during the Big Rock, and it was killing me. There was boats around hooking up. It was hard. But when we got prior to Tuesday, we reached out to ROFFS, talked to their team. And I use a couple other SST charts apps on my phone. But man, ROFFS really breaks out where they think the best water is, and really it ties it all together using those apps and using their snapshots that they give you, their feedback. And there was some beautiful water out there. And on Tuesday, we shot out right there at about the 480 to 490 line, and there was a lot of boats there. And we immediately became connected. We had a Marlin on, and before I could even record it, we pulled the hook first thing Tuesday morning. And then about a few hours later, we hooked into a giant. And we ended up breaking her off after a little battle. But she was a big fish. That being said, the adjustments that ROFF gave us the adjustments coming into Friday. We knew the water had moved a little bit north, right in the 590s, 585, 590. And what really cool story is I have a Garmin inReach, and the ROFF guy said, hey, when you have a chance mid-morning around 10 o'clock, shoot me what you're seeing. Tell me what you got out there. Tell me the conditions. Tell me the water temp. Tell me where the blue green's at, and send them to your wife via inReach. I'll give her feedback and give you adjustments. So there I was. Oh, yeah. So 10 a.m., I'm in my inReach, sending my wife a message. Hey, we're right off the blue green, about a half mile. Water's beautiful. It's a little warmer than we'd like. It's about 81.5. I sent it to him. I get a message back about 15 minutes later, and ROFF says, hey, move this way, 1.8 miles. So I set my autopilot, set my position, had the spread just chugging along about 9 knots, and you wouldn't believe it. As soon as we get on position, man, she came in the spread, slammed the short, slammed the mid, and then ended up eating the long rigger, and it was on. So but the water overall was really beautiful this week. There was a ton of marlin bites. We had over 8 bites in 3 days. We only had 3 fishing days because we lost that Monday sword trip and those 2 bad weather days. So we're very fortunate. Even on the last day, Saturday, I had one on, and it pulled the hook immediately. And I can only imagine if we called another hookup. And it was a big one, too. I can only imagine if we called in another hookup. But we were very fortunate to be on the fish all week. Very lucky. But ROFFS really did help out. And, tying in where the fish were and where that water moves. So it was good water, and ROFFS is an awesome product.
Yeah, man.
Here's a question I've got for you.
Yes, sir.
You're sitting there in the center console, twin engines. How long was that contender you're in? How big was it?
Yeah, it's a 35T contender. It's actually 34 foot 9 inches, if I remember, 34.9 or 34.10. But it's a 35 foot boat, center console, twin 350 Suzuki's on it.
Okay, with that in mind, and knowing just how significant not losing the moisture in that fish was, tell me what kind of speeds you were making in that 35 foot container coming back inshore.
Well, we were rolling. I got to be honest. It got a little sporty there for a little bit, but we were cruising a good 32 knots, I would say, steady. And we probably reached it a couple times, maybe 35, 36 knots. But I would say 30, 32 was our steady coming in and the tabs down. But our run was only about 50 miles, so it wasn't too bad. As soon as we crossed the knuckle boogie at the Cape, we were heading home. And we gave Randy, thank you, Randy and Jarrett Bay and all those guys for this tournament. Amazing. But we gave Randy a snapshot about an hour and 45 minutes. And we were about dead on.
Well, with that being said, let me ask you this question. Do you think because of it was 0.2 of a pound, I believe, was the difference between you and the second place winner or second place guys? Do you think that speed helped you get in and stopped you from losing that moisture and maybe the ounces that you needed to win the tournament?
I'll tell you what, it didn't hurt. I promise you that. But on another note, the biggest thing, and I do a lot of commercial giant bluefin tuna fishing, commercial sword fishing, mahi, wahoo, I do all that. And I also do run charters. But one thing I do is I have these big insulated fish bags. They're made by Reliable Fishing. They're closed cell foam, and I put all my fish in these. I pack them with ice, put ice on the bottom. We slide them right through the door over the back of the gunnel into these bags. We splash them with water, just throw like a little quick bucket of water on top of them and ice them down very well and wrap them up like a taco. We wrap them up very tight. We make sure no air is getting in. And to me, that's the most critical part of the poundage, keeping them moist and keeping them edible cold. So that fish was edible when it hit the scales. It wasn't a fish that was laid on deck and covered with towels or something like that. Nothing wrong with that. But I can tell you that fish was ice cold when we got to the dock.
Okay. I'd love to have been on the ride in, man. I'd love to have been on the ride.
Oh, man. I'll tell you, we were cloud nine, but we didn't know how big that fish was. We really, and now that story will be after the last question here, but we didn't know how big she was.
Well, tell us a little bit about Chip had a great question there when he's asking you about at what point did you know that you thought you had potentially a winning fish?
Well, it was a long battle, and I seen her. She jumped I think it was 7 times, maybe 8 times, somewhere between 7 and 10. She jumped. When she first hit, she did one big jump right there in the prop wash, not too far, maybe 50 to 75 feet behind the boat, and then she shot out, maybe pulled 50 to 100 yards of string, and she jumped 3 times back to back. It was awesome. So she did a lot of dancing right there in the beginning, and then she was shooting across the surface back and forth. So we had a couple really good looks at her. About an hour, maybe hour and a half into the battle, she settled in, and we had her off the bow, and we were so close to the swivel. I mean, right there, the swivel was in hand reach. She was right there, 25 feet, 20 feet sideways. Her big eye, she was lit up, and she was coming, and she just decided to go straight down. She turned and burned and went straight down. And that's when the clock started ticking. I mean, she was being friendly, and she was thumping away down there. But we knew she was a good fish, but we still knew we need to measure. You know, we want to get a measurement. And when we finally did get her to the boat, our measurement in the water was like 104 inches. We're like, oh boy. So we know that when you're in a boat, it's a little harder to measure them. So we got a better measurement and said she was really close. I said she was thick, and I was like, you know what? Right at that tail end, she ended up passing. So I said, well, it's my responsibility. I'm not sending her down to the bottom. She's a big fish. I believe she's over 400, and we slid her in that little tuna door, flipped her up on her side. It's a big question. Everybody asks, how'd they get them in? It's actually very easy. Yeah, we slip her up. We just tilt her up on her belly. We pulled her right through that door, but she was tight in that door. If she was about 75 pounds larger, we might have had to pull her over the top of the gun. But we got her in, and at that time, we wrapped her up, cooled her down, got her housekeeping done, and started heading in. We boated a blue marlin, the big rock, less. But we started heading in, and my thought in my mind, I measure at 107 in the boat, 107 and 3/4 in the boat. And I was like, oh man, you know, if she's not 400, we're disqualified, and that's huge. You know, we didn't want that. But even then, I felt like I made the right decision because she passed right there at the tail end. It was my responsibility. So we brought her in, and we were just hoping she was 400 pounds. We pulled into the scales, and everybody saw us. I looked up at my wife, my family, and said, I crossed my fingers, please, that she's 4. That's all we were hoping for. And we got her up there, and we opened the bag. And when Randy, this weighmaster, got over, awesome guy, by the way, he hooked her up, measured her briefly. I saw the back end of her tail. I was like, man, she's a big fish. And then there was one up on the dock, and I realized, oh, she's much bigger than that one. And when they started lifting her, I knew she was a big fish, but at that time, we're still hoping for 4, my entire team. So when they yelled 495.2, we didn't hear it at first. We heard 4 something blah, and all we just went bananas. We made 400 pounds. We were like on cloud 9, and we didn't realize that she was a first place fish until we were up there in the scales, and they told us. And then it was just obviously through the roof. But when I started sliding her out and lifting her gently, I said, man, she's a big fish. I mean, she's 144 inches length. She had 58-inch girth, 14-inch tail. She's a big fish.
Yes, sir.
Super story, man. Super story. Hey, did you sleep well Saturday night?
Saturday night we hung out. It was a good time. I got a couple hours of sleep. But Riley, I think he was up all night. My wife and I actually probably went to bed about 9:30, 10. But I was so excited the next morning, man, to wake up and just let it settle in and be like, man, we won the Big Rock. And it was actually still happening today, yesterday. Like, we're still we won the Big Rock. And I can tell you that we worked hard. We had a great spread, and I can answer his question about our spread. But I took a lot of adjustments from some world-class marlin fishermen, did a lot of reading, did a lot of research, and applied a spread that I thought was the best in the world. I still believe it was at that time for those conditions, but we applied it. We made adjustments Tuesday after I had that real big girl. She ate the small chugger on the way back. I shot over EJWs, shot over to Chasing Tails, got a couple of small super chuggers and those little mini chuggers, and we readjusted our spread, to match the hatch. Basically, all those flying fish are identical size, and we matched that. We applied more of those plugs, but we still kept the real big super chugger and Pakula in close, and the wide range, those real big ones, those seniors, and then applied all those little ones in the back, about 5 of them. And sure enough, our fish that we caught and the ones that we missed came in, swacked at the big ones, and ate the little ones every time.
Yeah.
And majority, 99% of our spread, we had 9 rods in, and out of the 9 rods, 8 of them were mold crabs. We had chuggers, sugar chuggers, and wide ranges. We had senior wide range, regular wide range, and then one super chugger, and the rest were the regular 7-inch chuggers.
Okay, sounds great, man.
Yeah.
Had your act together on it. So, how long were you out there on the Friday that you caught it? How long were you out there before you got hooked up? It's about 9:40, something like that.
I think it was 10:27 when they called to hook up. We were I made that call to ROFFS about 10 o'clock with my wife with the inReach inReach messaging system, and I made that adjustment within 15 minutes, and we were arriving on scene about 15 minutes later. And I mean, it was right then we got the bite. So we started fishing exactly 08 that morning, whatever the start time was. It was 08. We were there about 45 minutes prior with the other boats, and we just got everything ready, got everything prepared, and we were just waiting for Randy to call lines in. We were ready to go. When he called lines in, and there was rods just screaming out, and we started working that water, and we got that adjustment, and man, we came tight. And I knew she was hooked good when she first jumped. The hook was buried at the base of her bill. 11-aught VMC was buried in her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't wait till next year to go to Big Rock. Hopefully, we won't be dealing with a plague at that point in time.
Right.
And I want to see how many center console boats are going to be out there, because in recent years, bluefin tuna fishing's gotten popular, especially with the guys in the center consoles. You see more and more out there doing it, and you're doing it too, obviously.
Oh,
And I think you may have really kind of upset the apple cart this year with this. We may see a lot of center consoles out there trying to get the big money, trying to get the big fish, unlike we've seen before, because as you know, the smaller boats are going further and further. They're better made, better engines, more dependable, greater communications and things like this. So going out there the way you went out there is probably going to become, you're going to see a little more competition from guys in your own class around that area, I believe.
I absolutely believe so too. Even when I was at the banquet, there was a gentleman, his wife had won some money in the women's part of the tournament. And he had said, man, I got a 26, I think it was a regulator. And he goes, man, I may go in next year with my center console. So I do think you're going to see a lot of that. You see a lot. I think we're having a better turn next year for it, which is great for the sport. It's great for the Big Rock guys. I think it's all good stuff. And, the competition is stiff there. We have legends that fish this tournament, legends with capabilities that I can only dream of, right? These big, giant boats with the technology and the spread that they can put out and the teams they have. Oh, my gosh. But the little guys can win it too. If the stars line up and we work hard, we can win it too.
What's really interesting is this year there's 2 major tournaments in North Carolina. One is Big Rock, of course, and probably the second biggest is the U.S. Open. And what's funny is the big guys didn't win either one of them this year. The U.S. Open was won by a team of guys that are just weekend warriors that were in the right place, right time, and they had everything against them, and they won it. And you didn't have anything against you, but you had the guts to get out there in a smaller boat and kind of go against the traditional, Big Rock or Blue Marlin tournament profile, so to speak, in the smaller boat. And how many did you have on your team? Tell us that, because that's probably a little different too.
I wanted to hear that too.
Yeah, so I had my first mate was Captain Riley Atkins. My second mate was Kyle Kilpatrick, and then I had another gentleman, Norman Bowen. He was basically like a client on the boat, you know what I mean? But he was also a free floater. He did apply and assist us on board. But my first mate, second mate was Riley and Kyle. And Riley had left side, Kyle had right side. I assisted him with as much as I could, also driving that pointy boat thing, make sure I'm in the right area, in the right position. But they did a great job. We did a lot of clearing. We did a lot of shagging grass. We were constantly adjusting the plugs down C, up C, in the trough. We were just constantly working nonstop all the way down to the last second on the last day. at the last minute, we had a Marlin come in the spread, crossed, we wanted a shot across our spread on Saturday. And I had a big split tail mullet, a big one, like a 1.5, 2 footer. And I immediately sent her back and I ran the KK, said, hey, grab the radio. We got 45 seconds. So all the way to the last, he was on the radio in case I hooked her up. I sent her back, and I'll get ready to yell it. I thought she was going to hook up, and she never came tight. And Randy called it, and we pulled them all in. But we were all the way from the second. We opened at 8 in the morning or 9 on Saturday, all the way to we were constantly in the game, constantly fishing, prepared and watching, and prepared to do what we had to do to try to put fish on deck.
Man, it's a great story, great finish, and congratulations to you. One thing I didn't mention in the beginning is something you and I talked about yesterday, is your side job, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is that you're a United States Marine. And,
well, my side job is the business, but yes.
We really appreciate your service. I've told you how I feel about Marines. We have actually a couple in our family, and very special guys, and we appreciate your service, and it's very valuable to us. But hey, thank you for your time, Chip. Any more questions before we go for the day?
Just one more. Congratulations. He kept mentioning Randy. Boy, I tell you, Randy ran a good tournament up there. And I believe y'all were hooked up before your landing. What, 3 to 4 hours, I believe.
5 hours, 15 minutes.
Over 5 hours. Yeah. I knew you had a nice fish. That's for sure. Because I heard y'all were good anyway. But yeah, you beat out Adrian Holler on the Sea Striker, which, I mean, yeah, you beat some of the best blue water fishermen on earth last week, brother.
You did.
And I congratulate you. And again, I want to just say personally, thank you for serving this great country.
Man, I really appreciate it. I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity just to meet you. You're a legend also. Sir, both you guys are awesome. I appreciate the opportunity just to talk to you guys. And look at this, man. I mean, I'm so fortunate, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for your time. Congratulations again, and good luck in the future.
Yeah, man. Y'all have a great day. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hey, thanks, folks, for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. And be sure and stick with us for the next one coming up next week. Not sure who we're going to have next week. It's going to be hard to top this one. But thanks for being on Just Angling. We appreciate you supporting us. Chip, thanks a lot for sidekicking, man. Always great.
Amen. It's been bodacious.
I hear you.
Later, guys.